Test. Wow, power. All right. We will officially call the City of North Kansas City Equity and Inclusion Committee meeting to order for November 9th, 2023 at 7:02. We will start with a call to order. Ashley Phillips.
Here.
Jennifer Boyd.
Here.
Bess Bailey.
Here.
Martin Newton.
Here.
Krista Harkins.
Here.
And Councilmember Amy Clark. All right.
Here.
So we've done the attendance. Voting members absent. I don't believe we have any absent. So full body today, which is exciting.
Nice.
Moving on to the approval of the minutes from our last meeting on October 12th. Does anyone move to approve those minutes?
I'll motion to approve. Second.
All right. All in favor of approving the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
All right. The next item on the list, we will caution, please, to limit your comments to 5 minutes at most. But are there any comments from the public this evening? All right. The next item on the list is for our council member liaison to give us a city council update. I believe they had a meeting yesterday and maybe one in between even.
Did we have one in between? Oh, maybe there's 2 cents. Oof. Well, I brought yesterday's material. I would say the biggest thing that may be relative is that we have opened the doors of conversation around what we want our economic development incentive process to look like. As you may or may not know, there's different incentive functions that for developmental areas, like TIF and different sort of asks when developers come to town when we're trying to attract people to North Kansas City. What we're trying to consider, though, is we've kind of attracted a pretty good amount, and going forward, kind of what our asks would be if they're going to get this in return. If they're going to get a certain, say a tax break or chapter 100, things like that, what our ask would be as a city. We've considered, that would make them, not to hinder them from wanting to develop here, but just to maybe put them in a better category of kind of, hey, that actually meets some of our needs. And also, so whether it be stormwater design that is more than just the base minimum requirement to be here, but maybe something more creative that actually assists us while we're giving the money back to them for investing in us, if that makes sense. So I would say, that's something you guys may want to kind of wrap your mind around to see how, we can evaluate that through the equity lens when thinking about affordable housing and the initiatives going in that direction. If you get an opportunity, take a look at that discussion item from yesterday's meeting. That would have been at roughly 6:10 maybe is when that was presented, 6:05, somewhere around there. But it's a great discussion item. The city staff did great in preparing for that and kind of listing the things that they were considering. New build versus reinvestment and kind of how we differentiate, who would get those incentives. It's not to, if a private owner comes in and wants to develop, we're not going to stop that. But it's just more when they have an ask of us from the city, what we would ask of them or what we would hope that they could give us in return, in a way. Trying to think other relative items. We're still reviewing, I think, potential RFPs for public transportation. I think we're all in agreement that everybody wants to see some form of public transportation be honored. We're all supportive, I would assume. Definitely raise your hands if not, or if we, if that's a discussion item. We also approved the money to go toward emergency shelter for cold weather response. Gave that to the Northland Assistance Center to be used for emergency shelter purposes in cold weather specifically before stretching into any other situations. So if that's something you guys want to discuss at all. Everything else that I can think of, I think those are the major things that you guys would want to maybe weigh in on. We also lifted the requirement for a liquor permit, like the cards that you need, kind of the liquor card that you need to work in the city of North Kansas City. It's a $25 charge. The thought on that is we wanted to lift that to remove any barriers. We actually had employers come to us to say, can you please remove that? And it puts the onus more on the owner, that when they sign up for their liquor license for their establishment, they essentially agree that they will have their staff trained on that required training, but the liquor license itself never required the training. You just really had to apply for it. They would do maybe a quick background check and pay the $25. And we just felt like we want to remove any barriers that may, prevent somebody from being able to get a job and having to come up with that $25. So open that door of opportunity a little sooner. And I think that would be, I'm like trying to really use up the space, like, oh, don't forget. I think that's all I'm really privy to talk about. But yeah, I think that's what's been covered. If anybody has any, immediate questions or comments, let me know.
Amy, will you have...
Microphone.
I just wasn't talking loud enough. Thank you. Are you going to form subcommittees, work groups, anything to tackle these conversations that this group could be a part of in a larger context? Is that something that kind of what we did with policies, where it makes sense for some of these topics that we could branch off, come back to you all with our greater thoughts on a larger piece of paper? Is there any feedback or suggestion as far as, I think it's great that we're aware and we're knowledgeable, and now the action step of what could that look like for us to help in this process?
Sure. I don't think we've discussed any formal organization of committees. I think that would, if you guys wanted to sort of initiate that too. I mean, we always tell people about the town to say, hey, if anybody has any input or suggestions around where what our asks would be. And I think, that could be a part of our survey, that we'd hope to get out there. I know there is a committee that's been formed for the public transportation RFP review. And I did sit there and think we should really have somebody from the EIC on that as well to review that paperwork. And I think it's a subcommittee. There's no sort of, restrictions around who could really sit on it. So I think if we're open to it, adding a member of the EIC, if you guys are open to it, I don't think it's like a requirement by any means, but if that's something that anyone on the EIC would like to sit in, there's a few council members that are a part of that at this time. And if I'm right, correct me if I'm wrong there, Mallory, but they be reviewing the RFPs that come through.
Correct. So they've already done that.
Okay.
For the most part, it's still ongoing.
Yeah.
And Councilmember Saper is on the committee. It's still ongoing, but we received the 3 proposals, and then now it's the conversation of what are the next steps, and we're still in a contract with KCETA, and is there still opportunities there?
Sure.
So, but I think the door is open. Yeah.
Okay, good. Yeah, and I think that's something, Councilmember Saper, like, from your point of view, to almost also bring to EIC if like a public comment where you may, bring it forward here or relate to me or whatever it may look like. I know it's tricky to relate to me because then it becomes, is this cutting off? I don't know. It becomes the ruling of sunshine law and things like that.
Whatever happens, we'll come before the full council.
Yeah. Yeah, but I'm thinking like before it hits that moment, if there's some sort of weigh-in, as the established committee is still reviewing, since it is ongoing, if there's something that maybe is considered that maybe isn't thought about on council, I think it could be helpful if anybody's open to that. So that would be a key piece that's immediate, that's like right now, as they're reviewing RFPs. When we think about the considerations for economic development and what those incentives look like versus what our asks would be and modifying those, I think, I could talk with Kim and Nakahodo and Shu and city staff to kind of see where, say, a member of the EIC could weigh in on that, or, if they have something more definite. They've broken it down into a list of sort of suggestive areas, and, maybe you guys could review that to kind of prioritize to say, yeah, I think it's good that because we're going to try to align it with the strategic plan that we've kind of laid out for the city, but we're definitely open to input, some things that we may not be considering or may not have made the list. if you guys want to weigh in on that. If that answers your question.
Yes, it does. Thank you so much.
Great.
Amy, you mentioned Northland Assistance Pro. Is Rita still a point of contact for that
Correct.
organization? She's still
Mhm.
there?
Yes.
Hadn't heard from her.
Yeah. She is. Holding on strong. Yeah, and I'll give you a heads up on that. I think, so last night, I don't know if anybody watched the meeting, there was a bit of a mix-up, I think, in the very beginning, and I'll just kind of tackle this now, kind of on behalf of Rita. When you go to approve the agenda, so there's the agenda overall, and I was approving the agenda, and someone pulled an item to be open to discussion at maybe the wrong time. It really meant to be pulled when we opened up the consent agenda. Like, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda? No, there was actually an item that wanted to be pulled off the consent agenda for discussion, but it got pulled off on the approval of the agenda. So it conveyed the messaging that it was just pulled off the agenda, that it was not going to be an item. So that, Rita left thinking, okay, I guess I got pulled off the agenda, which was unfortunate because I think, it's just one of those things where we thought, maybe she got pulled away and needed to do something, but it really was that she had just maybe assumed that it was pulled off the agenda entirely. And so she would have been here to kind of make, add to discussion so you guys could see that interaction. But she was here before. She had presented a couple meetings before. So that's one to kind of catch up on because there was some discussion around what those funds would be used for and maybe opening up the opportunity for it to branch out to other areas of need. But for this particular funding, we're strictly limiting it to because it kind of came to because of the prevention of, we don't want anybody to die in our city for cold temperatures. We know the Scott Ike Center was developed for that very reason, in Kansas City. So we're trying to stick with that initiative. So yeah, but that would be why she wasn't at the meeting, is because she thought, well, by the ruling, it looked like my item was removed altogether. So.
All right, any additional feedback on those items that Councilmember Clark has shared with us? Thank you for giving us a summary. I watched the meeting yesterday, and it looked like there was a lot of good discussion and really a lot of, like you said, a lot of things for us, I think, to be involved with, for sure, with the topics of the economic development. So moving on to item 5, maybe 6. I don't know how we're counting here. Mallory. I'm just kidding.
I don't apparently know how to count
You're
either.
good.
Sorry.
So item 5 on the agenda, though, is an amendment to Article 8 regarding our meetings. So Section 4 of the Equity and Inclusion Bylaws, which was adopted January 13th, 2022. So is this just an outline of that amendment, or will this be something we vote on?
So this is a request from committee member Bailey to me. So I placed it on the agenda, so I will let her speak on it. I know no other details other than that it was requested to be on the agenda.
Sure was. And I didn't know I had options of how to include it, so I think I did the right thing.
So in order to amend the bylaws, we have to put on according to your bylaws, we have to put on the agenda what section in particular you want to amend. So that's why. And so yes, you did exactly that. And I just, to better show the change, I did a little strike through.
You did great. You
Yeah.
did great.
So, but other than that, I know nothing. I can speak to what will have to be our next steps if you guys do choose to go with this change, because this is not the final step to amend your bylaws.
Perfect. I love that. And then let me go ahead and give background on this, and then we'll either talk about it or shoot it straight to you. So we know that one of the big challenges we've had is having enough members present and appointed and present to be able to officially vote on a number of things, especially over the summer months. It was really difficult. And then with vacancies in positions, it's really hard to do the work. And because of that, I was thinking through the different ways we could potentially adjust our bylaws and make it happen easier to vote, make it easier to vote. With that, I put together this verbiage, and it doesn't need to be this, but I felt like because it's taken so long to get momentum, it was really important to put this on here while we have the most people we've ever had. So, if you look in red, that's the change I'm proposing. It would adjust for like similar math of having the majority of people here, and it would take out the last piece of the concurrence, which I thought was just a clearer one sentence way to put it into our bylaws. And this is where I don't know what to do next.
So I just have a question for clarification. When you say members, is it appointed members or members present at the meeting when you're taking the vote?
I feel like I really struggled with this verbiage, but let me check my email one more time. I've forgotten how to use my phone. I'm so sorry.
Well, I mean, nothing like being under pressure, right?
And I know. It's like now I'm all thumbs.
Mallory, while she looks that up, I'm struggling to compute, what would be the difference?
Well, because only you could have 3 of you show up and you still could have 51%. So 2 individuals vote and you potentially 3 members could make a decision for the entire committee if only 3 members showed up to the meeting.
Yeah. So
If it's those appointed, then it's still, well, I guess you could still have that if you only had 3 members appointed. And so there's just things to consider when you.
so I think what I was trying to make clear, but failed on, was this part of members of the committee in attendance. So people who are at the meeting. If we only have 4 members present, we can still have a quorum of 51%.
Were you still saying like if 4 people show up, then 3 of the 4 could vote or like could carry the vote? Or you're saying overall out of the 8?
I'm not saying it. I don't
No,
know. I'm asking.
No, because when she asked, I was thinking too, like what's the difference
Okay,
between
so, yeah.
appointed versus members?
Well, right, because okay. In let's see, appointed members is those that are currently appointed to the board, but that doesn't mean that you all have to show up to every meeting. And the question is, are you okay with members of the committee doing business and voting on items if not 51% of the eligible voters are at the meeting? So let's say you had 7 people appointed, but only 3 people show up. Are you okay with 2 people voting in the affirmative to pass something, 1 person voting in the negative, and it still passes even though 4 other committee members didn't show up to the meeting? I guess is the question.
I don't think that example would constitute a quorum based on what your verbiage is, right? Because you're saying that you have to have 51% of the members here to constitute a quorum instead of 5. Does that make sense?
So 51% of the appointed members.
That's how I was reading it. If I'm wrong.
Man, I didn't know it would get this. I'm very confused.
Quorums are a tricky thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, when we originally built the bylaws, we were talking about like doing a full Robert's Rules situation with these meetings, which we were told, no, that's crazy. Don't do that. But we've had meetings where we've had to cancel them because that one person that would push us over a voting quorum isn't here because I forgot, like things happen. And what I don't want us to do is cancel 3 meetings in a row again. So what the spirit of this is, how can we update the language of this bylaw to make sure that we're still able to make progress, even if we don't have the 5 out of 6 members appointed, or the 5 out of 7 members appointed show up to be able to make the vote.
Yeah, you can set your quorum amount to a specific number, which that's what it is now. It's 5, and that comes from Robert's Rules of Order. In the chart in Robert's Rules, it's you have a 9-member committee, council, whatever. 5 is a quorum, and so that's where that came from when you guys adopted that, I'm assuming. But yeah, you can set it to 2 as a quorum. It doesn't matter. When you get into these percentages and you get into the verbiage of the members, that's where maybe it gets a little bit more confusing.
So the language, all I wanted was like more than half of the people who are present want something to happen. So that might mean if only 3 people show up, we can still do our business and carry out our agenda.
And yeah, and that's okay. I just want to make sure that that's what, everyone wants. But yeah, it's fine. I guess the other piece to this for the procedure piece of it will have to go before legal counsel. So anything that you guys vote on tonight, then in my role, I'll take that and have that reviewed by legal counsel and then provide an update at our next meeting. And if legal counsel determines that it doesn't comply with state or federal law or a municipal law, then we'll address it at that time and we can make some changes. So it really won't take effect until your next meeting.
I love it. Love the heart behind it. I think that was such a barrier for us for such a long time. And I do think that will eliminate where it is maybe only 3 of us are able to attend. We're still able to hold the quorum and we're still able to move things. I might muddy this up a little bit. For any finances, would that be, could we do maybe this is too much, but could we do something that if we're approving something that's over $2,000, it's appointed members would need? I also don't know though if we haven't had any big purchases that I think would be that concern.
Well, I think most of the purchases have come from first, like, we decide, do we want to do this event or not? Then, yes or no, we make the decision, like, do we want to provide funding? Do we want to provide physical support? Do we want to decorate? And then, like, from that conversation, we then decide a budget number. So it feels like lots of steps anyway. But I think the answer is, I think what Mallory's saying is, like, you decide, and if legal says no, go back and try again.
What was the clarification of appointed members? Maybe.
Really, the question is just, is the committee as a whole okay with only 3 members being present at a meeting, being able to make decisions on behalf of the whole committee? I mean, there may be a time when there are only 3 members appointed. Just at this current juncture, we're not at that. So you all need to sit up there and make the decision that if only 3 of you were present, are you comfortable with just two affirmative votes? That's all it takes to approve something. Are you comfortable with that? And if you are, that's fine.
So we need to decide if it's appointed members or members in attendance. That's the clarification that we're.
Well,
this
the
one?
way I read this is just members in attendance. And Bess, that's not my understanding of how. But I just wanted my question was just that clarification.
So the way it's written would be 51%, so more than half of the people physically present at the meeting.
I would just hate for it to, I don't know, make the committee feel like it could get watered down enough, to allow for that. Instead of continually pushing the envelope to get people on the committee so that we do have a diverse, set of opinions, pushing things forward. So I think there's a couple considerations there.
So I'll speak a little bit to the history of quorums. Quorums were originally formed not for transparency or anything like that. People honestly weren't even thinking about that in the times when meeting decorum was come up with. But it was to encourage people to attend the meetings. It was to make sure that those that were responsible for making the decisions showed up to the meetings. And that's why the quorum is usually set at such a high number, so that members don't, or people don't join things and then not attend or assume, oh, only 3 of them need to be there, so it'll get done even if I don't go. So I think that is a consideration.
I'm also wondering if, because one of our true dilemmas was just having the quorum, and then we moved to still meeting and calling it, like a work session or something instead of the quorum. I could see where we would decrease that number, like if we wanted to do 3 for a quorum. I don't think we've ever had less than 3 people appointed at one given time. But I think that there are still a lot that we can get done as long as we just get those quorums. I don't know if that could be 2 separate pieces where we can maybe approve for a quorum is 3 appointed members, and then still talk about how many do we have to vote in that. And it could still be that 51% of appointed members.
But, I mean, this decision is totally up to you guys, but a quorum is literally the thing that allows you to be able to vote. So no matter what you set the number at, if that number doesn't show up, you can't. I mean, you can hold a meeting, but it can only be a work session meeting. So you can't vote on any, so. But see, that's the issue is I don't know how many, whoever is setting the meetings doesn't know how many people show up to know if you're going to have a quorum or not. So then it's hard to set an agenda to put things on there to be voted on if then you don't have a quorum. Yeah. And that's what happened over the summertime. Was we kept trying to have meetings, we put together the agenda, and then not have a quorum, and so nothing was getting done.
I'll also say this, I don't think and maybe it's because we haven't had enough people here, but I don't think we've voted on a ton of things, even in the existence over the last, nearly 3 years, to where, lowering that would deter any significant business from getting done. I think our work sessions have been just as helpful as, if not more so, maybe than our more formal quorum attended meetings. So what I'm saying is I don't think changing that would change any business or just helpful sessions that we've had. I think our work sessions have been helpful.
You do also have the section in your bylaws that allows you to remove members for non-participation. So I think even if you do reduce the quorum to only 3, you still have that. Now, then you lose members, so that's another thing to think about. But there is that in there to sort of protect and encourage people to attend if they want to be a part of the committee and work towards equity and inclusion in North Kansas City.
Yeah, I think the change that just recently happened, we just started doing this where if we didn't have enough for a quorum for people responding that we still met, but I think that that's worked out really well. And then it goes back to Bess, your thought though of okay, if we're meeting, can we still just get things done if we need to get them done because we're there? I still like this thought of half. I can't think of a better solution. And like you said, it's just even if it's 3 of us that are able to attend for whatever reason, still being able to meet, move forward with action items, and not feeling held back because we have to wait for the next meeting to confirm, okay, we will be in attendance for this, or we'll, review the next policy. So I'm leaning towards the amended version of this, for sure.
I agree with the changing the verbiage to the percentage, because right now we're stuck at the 5 members, and we've got 7 members total right now.
No, you'll have 5. Yeah.
Oh, tomorrow we'll have 5.
Yeah, yeah.
So we'd have to have 100% at that point to have quorum. So I think we do need to at least change that verbiage to where we don't have a set number of members, because we may not even have that on the committee in totality. So. Even if we just do that as 51% of appointed members, not even necessarily 51% of those in attendance at that particular meeting, I think that would even be a better solution than what we've got now.
You look like you want to say something.
No, I'm just thinking of the people I asked to apply, and I don't think they've applied. I'm just sitting over here like, I'm so sorry. So sorry about Ward 4. I'm a part of the problem. I am a part of the problem. It's me. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking about. That's what's going on over here. So,
Was that Taylor Swift reference too?
yeah,
Okay,
of course it is.
cool. Good.
I
We
want
need one of
to
those in
stay
every meeting.
relevant. I want to be
Changing bylaws, we're putting a Taylor Swift reference.
Hey, Megan and I are all for that, so.
You are in the presence of the Swiftie
The Swiftie
Committee.
Committee.
Whoa.
So in order to do something about it, we can do a vote tonight, right?
Yeah, so you need a motion and a second, and then on this, I'm going to suggest that we call roll.
If I proposed it, can I still do the motion? Great.
You
I
absolutely
move
can.
to approve the change and amendment to I move to approve number 5.
All right, so we'll call the roll. I suppose you say yay if you agree, or nay if you don't. So Ashley, we'll start with you.
Yay.
Jennifer,
Yay.
Bess.
Yay!
I'm going to say nay officially. Martin. Yay. And Krista.
I'm new, so I'm going to say
Crystal.
nay. I kind of don't agree either.
I believe the yeas have it, so we will adjust the language to read that 51% of the committee in attendance will constitute a quorum to transact any business that requires a vote.
Sounds good. I'll provide an update at your next meeting on my conversations with Tom Barzee, our legal counselor.
Thank you for thinking that through, Bess. All right, so I believe we'll move on to announcements. I know we have one big one just regarding Ashley's departure. And I know on behalf of everyone, I would just like to say thanks. You really pushed us forward a ton, and your organization, yeah, and just the thought you put into the strategic plan, and yeah, breaking that down was really helpful. But that's my time. Anybody else have anything?
I second it.
Yeah. I appreciate that.
While we're on the Ashley Bragg train, she put together the typey of a really good work session we had after our last meeting. And I'm just so thankful. You are very, very organized, because I took great notes, I promise, but I don't know where they are. So thank you for codifying that for us.
Absolutely.
Can I make an announcement? Some announcements? Okay. I included for you the upcoming items of note. It's at the dais. I'll just point out that Mistletoe Market will be at the Parks and Recreation Center the 19th, and then November 20th is the project Feel the Warmth. We still have a lot of those hats and gloves that we purchased last year. So I'm hopeful that at your direction, I can share those with the Parks and Recreation Department for their project Feel the Warmth. And then last year, we had talked about getting in touch with the Northland Assistance Center, and someone was going to do that. I'm not even sure if it's a member that's currently still appointed, but I still have all of those. So if you guys desire to do something with those hats and gloves that you purchased last year, let me know. Happy to help with that, but I do plan to go put some on the fences for Project Feel the Warmth. And other than that, the mayor's tree lighting is December 1st. New location this year, corner of Armour and Swift. And it's going to be a really fun event with children's crafts, and the Briarcliff Elementary Choir is going to be there. And it's got a good attendance, so that would be a great one for you guys to attend. Yeah, not real reindeer this year, though. Reindeer ponies.
Aww.
Children can ride them.
Speaking of children, all we have left are youth-size T-shirts. The dog party that I attended, the Halloween thing for the dogs.
You mean you went through all of those adult T-shirts? I gave you like 10 of each size or something.
It was a very well attended
Yeah,
event.
those are.
People loved it. I did have some great conversations and people excited to see us out there. I did encourage a lot of people to apply. Sounds like they did not, but that's okay. And then I accidentally started giving out youth larges as larges because I was scrambling and people were like, I would like a large, please. And so they have teeny tiny ones that they thought were going to fit them. But all that I have left are in those boxes. And I think that next meeting, maybe y'all approve to purchase some more. They were huge.
I still have a lot.
Oh,
Yeah, I just only gave you 10 of each size because I didn't know.
Yeah, no, I would have given them all out probably.
On that, can I go again? Sorry. We do have applicants. So we did have one person apply in Ward 1. I've sent it to Councilmember Todd for consideration. And then I do have an applicant from Ward 2, but I don't have a vacancy in Ward 2. So
Can you share if that Ward 1 applicant was after the dog park party?
it was yesterday.
I want to take it as a win, guys.
So I'll say that the person attended the dog park party, and it is all because of you, Ashley Phillips, that this person, yes. So maybe there are fruits to your labor.
Any
so
Ward
congratulations.
4 folks at that dog party?
It's too far from Ward 4, Amy, I don't know.
I was just at that dog park today. I was there, but I'm here.
Megan pointed out before our meeting that we have Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, and Christmas coming up, and maybe some sort of social media post. Anyone have any thoughts on that? Head nods.
In the past, we've sent them to you, and it gets sent on the North Kansas City.
Yeah, on the city. So the last 2 years I've done a Juneteenth post. So I don't know. Food for thought. If someone wants something, email me.
About when is the deadline for that? If it's
I mean, like at least 2 or 3 days before,
But
you would like it posted.
yeah, Hanukkah is the first night of Hanukkah is the next meeting that we have. So it would need to be before that if it's going to be.
and is there a festival, a North Kansas City festival in the talk? I'm hearing talks about a first annual festival this weekend, and it's going to be, the location is maybe 14th and 15th, Swift, something like that.
I can turn this on and ram my microphone into my face. Yeah. I'm now lost at night. And I was I guess it wouldn't make it on this because it's not like city official. I'm trying to think of the exact time. I feel like a failure now, but it's During the,
It should be on this, actually. I don't actually update this, but you'll note at the top, it says items in green are special events permitted by the city, but I don't know.
it's Saturday at 12 at noon. I encourage everybody to stop by. I think it's potentially like a $5 entrance,
Yes.
which is, pretty affordable. In advance, more at the door. Oh, man. Yeah, as it should be.
Mallory, I have a question for you. Does Feel the Warmth start on the 20th, or is that when they put them on the fences?
That's when they put them on the fences.
So when do we need to get them to someone to put on the fences?
I think you put them on the fence yourself.
Oh, I've never actually completed the project. I have a lot of half knit scarves.
Yeah. I think you're more than welcome to bring them to the Parks and Recreation Department at any time. I'm sure they'll take them, or you can do it yourself. Put them on there yourself.
Cute. Maybe I'll take some home and put them in bags and things.
And I don't mean to put Crystal on the spot, but we haven't had a chance really to introduce you, or if you wanted to introduce yourself, or, but you don't have to. I just was gonna give you an
Sure.
opportunity.
Well, I'm Krista Harkins. I live in North Kansas City. I believe it's Ward 2, back behind Taco Bell, kind of off of Armour. I don't know what else you'd like to know about me. Any questions?
Favorite
There
color?
was anything that inspired you to join the group, or any work you've done in equity and inclusion?
No, I have no experience in government or being on a committee or inclusion at all. I do run a manufacturing plant, so we have a wide diversity there of people. So I guess I do have some experience there of melding all of those people together. But really, no, this is my first experience in the newsletter that we get once a quarter. That's actually where I saw the opening, and I was like, what the heck? I would like to maybe contribute and see what it's about. So that's how I ended up here.
Yeah, thanks for introducing yourself. We're excited to have you.
you.
We're overwhelmed by Ashley's departure and didn't get a chance to recognize you joining the team. So thank you so much,
Yeah.
really.
Glad
Yeah.
to be here.
Yeah, sorry, I should have included that in my council member comments tonight because we voted on that 2 meetings ago. So, welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, we all read your application and gave the thumbs up. I think it was unanimous. It was on the consent agenda, so it was just like, yes, of course.
Exactly. I'm here, so yes, we took that as a yes.
Great. Does anyone move to adjourn the meeting?
I move to adjourn.
I'll second.
All right. We will adjourn this evening at 7:44 and look forward to meeting again here in a little over a month. So, all right.
Thanks, Ashley. You're the best.